Alright, time now is 9:46 a.m. on March 22nd. It's raining like absolute hellfire right now. I slept from 3:30 to 9:30, 6 hours. Not great, not terrible. But given that I didn't sleep much for the last 3 days in a row, yes, I am a bit tired, and it's a shame that tomorrow I'll have to also sleep very little. Yeah, I slept kind of late last night. I didn't even watch 4 episodes of anime as planned because I was just really tired. Instead, I spent like maybe half an hour chatting with Leslie, the Chinese girl. I just out of curiosity, it was like 2:40 something a.m. I just asked her like, "Oh, cuz tomorrow, aka today, I will be going to the campus." I just asked her like, "Oh, when will you be having your lunch? When is your lunch break? Like maybe I could see you or other people, intrude." And she just said, "I'm stressing out." And I'm like, "What?" And then she said that she's preparing her pitch because today for her film 32 with Professor Cuchillo, she's going to pitch, uh, like people will come out and pitch a scene. So, yeah, that's pretty interesting. And unlike because last semester I took Film 32 with Antonio, not Cuchillo. Unlike Antonio, Cuchillo is actually very serious about this. You need to prepare a presentation, you need to have a lot of guidelines and rules, you have to change something in the scene. So Leslie chose a scene in Breathless, the French film, but what she's changing is that it's done in a Wong Kar Wai-esque way, where the language is changed and people speak Cantonese or maybe Mandarin in the movie, in the short film, which is very interesting. Um, Ooh, wow. Okay, my belly is not feeling great again. I don't know what the fuck's going on with my stomach lately. But yeah, I wish the best of luck to Leslie. She's really, really stressed out. She's like panicking last night. She said she's drinking her second energy drink of the day and she's probably not gonna sleep at all because she spent so much time at CMD yesterday, the whole day. She didn't have time to prepare her presentation at all. Oh my goodness. Um, but yeah, essentially that's that. And then I wanted to speak more to her, so I told her that I was going to tell you something um, about Cuchillo that directly affects you. Like Michelle told me something about Cuchillo that affects you and directly, specifically you, which is a very ominous thing to say to someone. And she's like, WTF, 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 all caps. And she started saying, "What? Tell me. Can I call you right now? Can I call you right now?" And bruh, I would like to call her, but like it's 2:40 a.m. It's like 3 a.m. I'm like, okay, just calm down. I shouldn't have told her this because she's a very panicky type person, I guess. So it probably added more to her nervousness. Okay, oh my god. What the heck's going on with my stomach? Okay, whoa. It's hurting again. Um, but yeah, essentially that's that. Um, and then I just told her to calm down. I explained to her, oh, it's just that maybe Kushio will have you work more, and he's going to demand more from you. Um, and she's like, okay, is that all? And like, I actually don't really know. So yeah, and then Namachal. So today is Wednesday. I'm going to photo one class. And then I will directly go from main campus to CMD to do the interview with Professor Antonio to be lead producer of the short film of Film 33, even though I'm probably not going to be chosen, and that's totally okay. And I don't know where am I going to do the interview at all. So this is going to be interesting. But if I am lucky and I run into the Film 32 folk, the Crucio class of Film 32, and I would speak to Leslie, maybe I would find out who's in the Wednesday Film 32, and also maybe I'll get to meet Ken, the mysterious Taiwanese guy. So there's that. And then yeah, Namachels. I thought about shaving my chin and everything, but I just don't have the time. I'm just gonna go with this. Yeah, one more thing is yesterday there were a couple more things I forgot to mention. Aoba dropped the F-bomb, like Aoba just said what the fuck. So Aoba asked me whose script is chosen in Film 33, and I actually told her. Which I shouldn't, but whatever, right? I told her, and she said, "What the fuck?" And this is the first time I heard her swear, actually. Actually, in the past, she has said fucking before, but she said it so fast and quietly that I can't really tell if it's supposed to be something else. But today, but like yesterday, it was a very clear what the fuck. I've never heard Aoba drop the F-bomb, and she also doesn't seem like the type of girl to drop the F-bomb. But it was so hesitant and gentle and shy. It's kind of funny. I mean, I say the F-bomb. I realize that actually, even though I'm always like, oh man, I'm too good of a person. I should be naughtier. I should just live. Drink alcohol, get drunk, smoke weed, whatever. I realize that I'm already like naughty in comparison with somebody else, because I swear like a sailor sometimes. So there's that. And also Aoba told me that she's probably gonna dye her hair back to black again, because in the summer she's going back to Japan, to Hokkaido, and she's going to have to take a photo of herself wearing kimono, because apparently 20 years old is a huge deal in Japan, and she has to take a photo, so that's cool. Shout out to Aoba. Yeah, Namachels. That word I was looking for, it's cleavage. That's what I was looking for last night. I don't know. Hopefully I get to speak to that French girl in the following weeks. And then, yeah, again, it's just really weird how Pepper's suddenly close to me. Not close, but like Pepper just acted really friendly to me again last night, but then not last night, like not friendly at the same time. Like, I don't even know. It's just like, yeah. But whatever the case may be, I have no feelings for her right now. I have like zero feelings. So, but yeah, Michelle told me that her feelings for Cliff are also slipping away. Like, she has a crush on Cliff, but then a few days later, she's beginning to slowly lose that crush, because she thinks that it's impossible, and she's probably not that interested in his personality anymore. Which is kind of sad, but okay, you know. And then Namachels. I chatted with Michelle about names, like how different cultures name names. Michelle explained her name and how her name has an American part, which is Michelle, and then there's a Persian part, like a Farsi part, and there's a Latina, like Spanish part of her name. And then she asked me what's my real name, like, and so I explained all this stuff to her, and she's pretty fascinated. So yeah, that's that. Not much else. Alright, final piece of the St. Patrick's Day donut. This is pretty much chocolate glazed, but with green lines. Okay, cheers. I just dropped my fucking phone on the ground, and now my screen is smashed. It's fucking raining, and I'm gonna be late for the fucking interview. Fuck me in the clitoris. Well, there goes Film 32 class. Let's go home. Oh boy! Time now is 3:46 p.m. Let's talk about today. Another bangin' eventful day. Another bangin' weird ass day. Let's start off with photo 1. Had a couple donuts this morning. Went to school. I was early by like 10 minutes. Pretty great. I like being early. And Aiden the hidden Hong Konger didn't show up again. I don't know what the fuck's happening. I was hoping that I would foster my relationship with him and we could hang out. He goes to San Gabriel a lot, so I can like branch out to more Hong Kongers through him. But yeah, unfortunately, it just seems like he's not serious about this class at all. But the Chinese guy did show up, and he's saying hi to me every, like, both on Monday and today. When he saw me, he's like, hey, and I'm like, hey, back to him, So there's that. So today's class was just okay. It's about shooting photos in motion, meaning people moving and then using a fast shutter speed, or it could be slow to shoot people in motion. That's the whole thing of today. And when the professor is handing out handouts, when he handed out pieces of paper to every one of us to our seats, and when he got to my seat, he was like, how was class yesterday? And I was like, oh yeah, it's interesting. I like it. And he's like, you look very frustrated. Were you frustrated yesterday? You look very frustrated. And I'm like, oh yeah, because the film's complicated. I didn't even know how to answer. And then he's gone. So yeah, I guess people noticed that I looked really upset yesterday. I don't know what came over me yesterday. In photo 2, during the class, I just didn't feel so good. Suddenly I felt nervous. Suddenly I felt not so great, yeah, essentially there's that. And it's a little embarrassing, like, oh, people are noticing. Because back in secondary school, if I am upset, people don't notice. Because I never existed back then, I was so invisible, and I just don't notice. Yeah, I guess this is America, and they're more sensitive to people being emotional. And if you're sad in America, it's a much greater deal than if you're sad in Hong Kong, So that's that. But yeah, it wasn't raining much for the most part today, but it was raining at the worst times possible. So when we were out in the outside the photography classroom in the main area to take photos, a couple people showed up. Birkin randomly showed up. Birkin, the Turkish guy, randomly showed up out of nowhere and said hi to me. And he's walking to his car in the parking space. And I asked him, oh, where's the meeting with the professor? And he asked me if I did it already. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to do it later. And he said, oh, yeah, I did it yesterday. Like, Birkin did the interview yesterday. And it's in Antonio's office. So I'm like, okay, yeah. And he's like, good luck, man. And I'm like, yeah, you too. And then a little bit later, while we're walking back to the classroom, Theo came out of nowhere. So it's really weird. I just keep running into people. But Theo didn't notice me. But of course, I could notice Theo like 10 miles away, okay? Because I'm the detective, and I'm really, really sensitive towards like people I recognize, like recognizable faces. So I could immediately spot Theo from afar. He didn't see me at all. I wanted to secretly take a photo of him. I used my camera, but at that point, the shutter speed was really low, so it was kind of blurry, so I used my own phone, but by then, he's already hidden behind a tree or something. But I still managed to catch his back. So that's that. So we finished class, and the class ended at around 12:40, and I had to arrive at campus at CMD at 1 p.m. And theoretically it should work, but the schedule is really tight. So I looked at my transit app. Usually from the main campus to CMD, you take bus number 16. But the next bus number 16 is 11 minutes later. Are you joking? So instead, I had to take number 7 and then walk 15 minutes to the campus. Instead of doing this, now I have to do this, bus number 7, and then walk up. So I had to wait for bus number 7, and it was late for like 3-4 minutes. And then it started raining, and it was getting hectic. And I took bus number 7, and I thought maybe I could hop off bus number 7 and then catch bus 15 or 16. But no, the path is just completely different. So I overshot by one bus stop. And then I was listening to music, and then there's this giant crossroad across Pico Boulevard, and I had to run across it. And while I was running, and I guess it's because I was wearing very loose pants, very loose black pants, and my phone and the pockets are not that deep, so it's literally like hanging by the side of the pocket. It fell. Worst nightmare. And it smashed, fell straight on. And I'm so glad I noticed it because I was listening to music. I couldn't hear a pop. I couldn't hear any of that. I was just like doing this, and then I turned my head a little bit and I saw, oh my god, that's my phone. And I immediately picked it up, and it's fucking smashed. So my phone right now that I'm using to film, the screen is smashed. And the scary thing is I don't have any phone case, and I'm not even sure if I have a screen protector or not. And that's really ironic because last night when I called my mom, I told her I may need a new phone because it's been 2 years since I've been using this phone. And my mom's like, oh my god, you need to buy a new phone as soon as possible. It's gonna die soon. And now I smashed my screen, of course. Luckily, it's not a terrible smash. All 4 of the corners are a little broken and chipped. Also, it appears that there's a screen protector of sorts, like a very thin glass sheet, but it's a little smashed, just a little bit. It's fine. I'm not noticing any purple cancer. I hope there is no purple cancer, because if there is, I'm done. I am absolutely screwed. There is no Samsung Fixing Center here as well, so even if there is, I don't want to pay for that. So let's hope there is no purple cancer. And also, this is a Galaxy Note, not A70. Samsung A70 is probably worse. So hopefully this is fine. So yeah, I walked very fast to CMD. And it was raining a little bit. At some point, my umbrella was caught in some like branches, like tree branches, and I was so mad I yelled out, "Fuck!" And then there was a guy, like a Chinese dude, walking past me, and he's like, "Whoa." So I arrived at CMD and I was about 7-8 minutes late. So it was about 1:08 p.m. And I immediately stormed into Antonio's office. Of course, I didn't storm in and make a huge scene. But I knocked the door, and he's like, "1 moment, please." And so he came out. So Antonio with a red t-shirt and a cup of latte in his hands. Paper cup. I thought we're interviewing in his office. Turns out we're interviewing in the conference room. So we went to the conference room building. No, the conference room, the exact same room we did the table read in. And he sat down at the very edge, like right... Okay, so this is the room, right? Okay, so let's say this chunk of the door is the room. This is the entrance. You enter through here. And then there's a long table. Antonio sit at this side. I sat at this side. So I just sat down, and he's like, and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm late. I got photo 1." And he's like, "Oh, no worries, no worries." So I actually didn't have to run. Thus, I didn't actually have to drop my phone. It wasn't necessary. It wasn't a necessary sacrifice. But yeah, so a couple of days ago, Michelle basically told me what sort of questions Antonio would ask me. And, I was a little prepared. Earlier today, I reviewed some of the questions. It's like reviewing for an exam. It's like, okay, I got this. Turns out Antonio didn't ask any of the questions Michelle said he was going to ask me. Michelle's predictions are so off. So we sat down and Antonio was like, first of all, what do you think of the script? Right off the bat, putting me on the spot. And I said, oh yeah, I think it's interesting. I didn't say it's great. If I say it's great, it's a shit answer. If I say it's bad, that's also a really shit answer. If I say it's great, then it's obviously I'm faking. If I say it's bad, then why even choose me to be a lead producer? So I said, oh, it's interesting. I mean, after all, it's a rough cut. I know it's going to go through changes. Yeah, and then he asked me what sort of changes do I want, and I said, oh, I'm actually, I want to see more in Act 1. I want to see more build-up for the main character, and I want to see the opening scene and the ending scene starting and ending with a confessional, like Gustavo said. And then Antonio said, oh, actually, I said it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. And then he asked me, what do you think would be the biggest obstacles? Oh, he asked me, so if you're a producer, if you become a producer, he asked me so many questions. What do you think would be the biggest obstacles? And I said, oh, the locations and art department. It was all completely improvised, as it should be, you know. But I was able to answer them really smoothly. I was like, oh, locations, because there are multiple locations, and art department, because there's the main character's house, there's the other character's house, there are 2 houses. We need to set dress 2 houses. So the production designer needs time to design all the set pieces for that. So that's that. And then he asked me, what sort of people do I want to work with? Who would you rather be director? And that's another really tricky question. I don't know. I truly don't know. Because most of the people in this class are people that I'm not familiar with. And honestly, I don't think there is a lot of people in our class who is fit to be a director. Like, a lot of people are fit to be editors and DPs, but I haven't come across in my Film 33 a person who's really, really well versed in the cinematic language. But then again, I don't know. How would I know? So I just said the model answers. Red, I think he's really passionate about it because he has a strong vision. I'd say Yulia, maybe Birkin, even though he's only applying for producer. He asked me who I think would be great producers. I said Birkin as well. I'm just really, really implying that Birkin is really good at his job, so that Birkin would be chosen as lead producer. He asked me what sort of people can I work with the best and what sort of people can I not work with. And it's another really interesting question. Another really tough question as well. You're telling me to like pick favorites, and then he told me that apparently the producer doesn't have to be one person. Like, sometimes a lead producer can be a team. Like, it could be 2 people. So I said, well, first of all, I can work with Birkin. I can work with the people who are originally in my Film 32. Second of all, I think Eric would be a good team, but he's in art department, but he's a close friend of mine. And for the people who I don't want to work with, Antonio said, oh, don't worry. Everything you say stays in this room. I won't tell anyone. So essentially, he's trying to make me spill the tea. And I said, well, Benny. Now, I answered so smartly. That's the model answer, because Benny's already fucked in the first place. When Benny got caught stealing free food in the cafeteria, and when Benny made crazy suggestions in the table read, Benny's already fucked. He is the first one to die. So I told Antonio, maybe I don't think I can work with Benny. But I think his creativity can be put somewhere else in other departments. I think it would be great. Like, I said that. So hey, I didn't completely throw him under the bus. I said the right answer and I answered it the right way. And then the questions begin to get more and more suspicious. But Antonio didn't ask me these questions like, ooh, come on, give me the tea, give me the sauce, spill the beans, oh. Like, he's genuine with these questions. He looks really genuine asking these questions, but then at the same time, these questions are so suspicious. So he asked me, so when Kuchio announced that the script will be from the outside, what are the reactions of your classmates? So he's asking me to rat out people, and he asked me what do I think is the status of this class. And I think, yeah, of course, most of the people are surprised, some are not surprised, but I think overall the class right now is still really passionate about this. And then he's digging even deeper. He said, oh, some people are not surprised? Why? And then I said, of course, I'm not going to say, oh, because we have a conspiracy theory thinking that Kuchio already had all this pre-planned. Like, I'm not going to say that. So I told him, oh, when we did the first round of submissions, there weren't enough submissions, and Kuchio was a little disappointed. And at that point, people began making predictions that Kuchio will pick an outsider script. That was, again, the most model, the most basic answer possible. Like, I answered it as safe as I could. And then he asked me, oh, so if you're the producer, how are you going to make sure everyone keeps being passionate about this project? And I said, oh, of course, I will assign the right roles to the right people, and have very good catering, have a very schedule that is not too tight. And then he said, yeah, even though this is a school and I would like to not make the schedule too tight for people to make people feel better, at the same time, the goal of this Film 33 is to imitate real life film industry, in which you don't get to have a loose schedule. You work 12 hours straight in the real film industry and the world outside. So Antonio basically said that in the most incoherent way possible. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. And then he asked me, what else did he ask me? He asked me if I have questions for him. Oh yeah, there's this really, really weird thing. Okay, so the thing is, there's a rat among us, and somebody told the professors that we have a Discord server. Worst case scenario, the professor has seen the contents of our Discord chat. And so Antonio asked us how are we going to communicate with each other, and he said he knows that we use Discord. So right off the bat, we're fucked. And then he, multiple times, I think about 3 times throughout the interview today, he implied that, there may be people who are unsatisfied with the script. There may be people who don't treat the script like a baby. That's literally what he said. There are people who will not treat the script like a baby and who will not be serious about this. If that's so, I want them to be open about it and tell me, because I don't want people to work with people who are not taking it seriously. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And at first I thought these are genuine concerns, which are definitely. But then the more he repeats this, like, oh, if there anything you're unsatisfied with the script, please tell me. If there's any, if you're not taking it seriously, if someone's not taking it seriously, really, like, tell us. And then maybe I'm being paranoid, but I'm beginning to suspect that he saw what I wrote in the Discord server. Even though I didn't bash the shit out of Kuchio and Antonio in the Discord server, I made fun of the script a little bit, as did so many other people. Other people made fun even harder. But yeah, I was a little snarky. I made a couple of jokes in Discord. Antonio may know. I don't know, but I saw that, and so towards, like, I noticed that Antonio may know that I've said some shit. So I tried to convince him back. I said, oh yeah, when Kuchio first announced the script, of course it was a little weird, it was a little strange, but I think at the end of the day, we all just want to make sure that this short film is as good as possible. The production of this short film is as good as possible, and that we all fulfill our roles. So, I'm still, and I said, oh, including me. So, and he said, oh yeah, that's that's good. Yeah, that's correct. And then I even asked him. So he asked me if I have any questions. So I asked him several questions. I asked him how many people. I asked him. So half the class also auditioned for producer, right? Which is a very roundabout way of asking him how many people auditioned for producer. So he thought for a while. He's like, 6. And then I asked him, how about director? And he's like, oh, I don't know the names, but there are several. So there's definitely more than 2. Like aside from Red and Yulia, probably there are a couple other people that I don't know who will be applying for director. Maybe Theo secretly applying for director. I don't know. I don't think so though. I think when Theo told Alba that he wants to stay in the background, I think he means it. But yeah, that's that. And then I also asked him how the PA thing is gonna work, because a lot of the filming is gonna be outside on location, and he said, yeah, we'll definitely have PAs, but some locations limit the number of people on set. And I asked him if I can like visit his Film 32 to scout for PAs, and he's like, sure, go ahead, which is surprisingly directly okay, So I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. So hey, I get the permission to visit the other Film 32s, which is so exciting. So yeah, so the thing ends, we left, and right. Another thing I really wanted to do in Today at CMD is to meet Leslie and other people in the Wednesday Film 32. So et voila, the moment I left, there are people dwelling outside, in the outside area, and right off the bat, I saw Ken the Taiwanese. I could immediately recognize the dude because his profile picture on Instagram is literally his face. So I was like, Ken. And he looked at me and he took off his earbuds and he's like, hey, do I know you? I don't know if he said that, but he looked confused. And he's like, hey, what's going on? And I said, oh, I'm Enoch. And he's like, oh, that's you. And so we started talking. And I said, oh, I finally got to meet the mysterious Ken the Taiwanese. And he's like, wow, yeah. Oh, I didn't realize it's you. Because I don't really post my face on Instagram a lot because I hate myself. But yeah, and then Leslie showed up finally, the star of the show, and she was like, hey, and she came up close to the both of us, really close, and then I said, oh, how's the pitching? Apparently, Ken pitched the scene. Ken pitched The Dark Knight, but the twist is that he's gonna make it French New Wave. Leslie's idea is Breathless, but make it Wong Kar-wai. And then so I asked, how's it? Ken asked me how's the Death Grip ticket, and I said, oh yeah, I bought it. I got the tickets. And then Ken we just talked for a bit, the basics. He asked me when did I come here. I asked him because his American accent is so good. I thought I've always been thinking, like, what if he's Taiwanese American, not actually Taiwanese? And I asked him, so you're born and raised in Taiwan? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, but your accent's so good. And he's like, oh yeah, my dad taught me English really well. And I said, oh yeah, I have the same issue. Like, my American accent is just so good. And Ken was like, yeah, like, I thought you were American at first. And he asked me if I am truly born and raised in Hong Kong or in LA. And I said, I'm born and raised in Hong Kong. I came here in January last year. And he's like, me too. And I asked Leslie that a little later. And Leslie said she came to the USA in 2019. And it's not in LA. It's somewhere else in California. She actually came to LA like a year ago or something. Because her parents think that if she goes to LA immediately, she is just going to take drugs, even though she technically is taking drugs now. And she's like, what drugs? And I'm like, life, CMD, nicotine. And Leslie like punched me like in the shoulder, But yeah, it's just awesome. I don't think I've ever been in a situation where it's just a Chinese person, a Taiwanese person, and a Hong Konger. Like just the three of us, just like that. the coalition. Yeah, so this is pretty interesting. And yeah, so I asked around like, oh, what are the info about Film 32? Apparently 11 people pitched, and Kuchio will be selecting 6. And there are multiple pitches. Another person also pitched the Dark Knight interrogation scene, the exact same scene Liana proposed, the exact same scene Ken proposed. And it's so funny. And not a lot of people prepared a really well done presentation, but it was still very serious. So I wish the best of luck for them. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And Leslie's really curious that what just happened. Like, oh, how did the interview go with Antonio? And Antonio was literally in the cafeteria as we speak. So I was like, oh, not now, not now. And then Leslie's like, oh, I'm so curious. What were you gonna tell me last night? Because I hinted at Leslie last night that she's in danger essentially. And I said, I actually don't even know details. I have to ask someone to ask someone to ask someone. And then she laughed and she said, is this an execute? And I'm like, execute? And she said, excuse, 借口, excuse. And I'm like, no, it's not an excuse. I'm serious. And I said, I to ask Michelle, to ask Betsy, to ask Rustam. Like this chain of information thing, it's real. Rustam will tell Betsy, Betsy will tell Michelle, Michelle will tell me, and I'll tell Leslie. So Leslie's probably pretty impressed that I'm in the works, I'm in the games. But I also showed Leslie a photo of Leslie a photo. That's Miss Solomon texting me. I showed Leslie a photo of Theo, and I thought it would be interesting to see her reaction. You know, because I was telling, because there's a black guy in the Film 32 class, and I could immediately recognize him from my Film 31. So I asked Leslie, is this guy Tracy? And Leslie's like, yeah, you know him? And I said, yeah, I know him, but he doesn't know me. Like, he doesn't remember me, but I remember him because I remember everyone. And Leslie's like, good quote. And I said, oh, you know, like, I can recognize people from very far away. And I told Leslie how I recognized Theo from very far away today. And Leslie's like, haha, funny Italian man. That's all she said. It was kind of weird. It wasn't like a real awkward moment. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So not too long later, and nobody had decided to have lunch. Like everybody just dwelled there. Like somebody was eating McDonald's at some point. But yeah, it appears that there aren't anyone I know specifically in Film 32, in Wednesday Film 32, other than Leslie and Ken. So yeah, the break is over. They're beginning to walk back. You know, Leslie said bye to me last and walked back. And so I went back home. So yeah, pretty intriguing day, I would have to say. Pretty intriguing. I also told Ken about the David Lynch series that Landmark Westwood is going, and he's like, what, really? Now I have to go. You just fucked up my schedule. And I asked Ken if he speaks to Leslie in Mandarin, and Ken said he doesn't normally because he wants to hide his ethnicity as much as possible. And I said I do the opposite. I always remind people I'm not American because I don't want to be lumped up with Americans, you know? But Ken likes to hide it, but if he has something to say and it's specifically for Leslie, then he'll say it in Mandarin. But it's so interesting because he has a Taiwanese accent, Leslie has a Northeast accent, I fucking suck at Mandarin, but I could hear maybe like 80% of it. So it's pretty interesting, and I hope this... Oh, also one really intriguing thing, actually, might be the most, is that Leslie's pitching Breathless but Wong Kar-wai style. If her idea does get chosen, which I hope she does, ganbare, she's gonna need help. She's gonna need help, like because the script will be in Cantonese, and she will need like Cantonese speaking actors. God, that's so difficult to find in West LA. You have no idea. I told Leslie, hey, you know, you can need you will need my help. And Leslie's like, oh yeah, that's what I was thinking. So she wrote that script, or she had this idea with me in mind, with my help in mind. That's impressive. But yeah, that's that. Yeah, I don't know. So, it's getting interesting. I said Tony Leung. He wanted me to ask people to act like Tony Leung, and she said, "No, Tony Leung, my husband." And I thought Leslie Jung is her husband because she calls herself Leslie because of Leslie Jung. And then I realized, oh, she called herself Leslie because Tony Leung and Leslie are a couple and happy together. That's why she called herself Leslie, because she likes Tony Leung. It makes sense now, and Leslie laughed. So that's that. Beginning of an interesting occurrence. But yeah, now that Aoba and Pepper are out of the CMD canon, out of the CMD story, really, like me, Leslie are the survivors, so there will be more story development at that end. But yeah, pretty interesting. Yeah, when I saw Antonio at first, he asked me, "Oh, how's Photo 1? Like, what do you learn?" And I said, "Oh, basic stuff like ISO, shutter speed," and we talked about Photo 2 a little bit. He asked me, "Did I like the processing film?" I was a little nervous. Like, I was a little like, "Oh, did Antonio also notice that I'm a little upset yesterday?" But I said, "Oh yeah, it's fun. I've never done this before." And he's like, "Yeah, I played with film a lot when I was young. When I was young, there's only film, but I haven't done it in so long, so it's good to pick it back up again." So yeah, that's pretty much it for today. I'm gonna tell Michelle all this right now. I forgot to mention that I keep running into people. When I was waiting for the bus from main campus to CMD, I saw Javi. He didn't see me, but I saw him. And then at CMD, when I and Professor Antonio were walking up the stairs to the conference room, I saw Christian. And then upstairs in the sitting area, I saw David the Swede. So, and I also said hi to both of them, and they also said hi to me. I just keep running into people. I'm literally insane. I'm literally insane. And it makes a lot of sense because, we were in the same class. But may I remind you that back in like a year ago, in round 1, like I would be in Film 31, but I wouldn't know like 80% of the people there because I don't even socialize with them all that much. So this is really interesting. Yeah, and it's funny, like a lot of the people as well, such as Leslie, I wouldn't know who she is if I didn't join script writing club. I wouldn't know who Cliff is if I and Aoba didn't get along and she didn't invite me on her short film. I wouldn't know who Javi is if I didn't join script writing club as well and actively socialized with him. So yeah. So a bulk of the people I know are also from like literally from me voluntarily going out and meeting people, which is crazy. I also I made an Instagram story, an artsy Instagram story, where I wrote Tengoku no Toki. And it's Japanese. So Aoba saw it and Aoba asked me why. And I said, I don't know, it's a JoJo reference. Saying this to a Japanese girl is just another level of weebery, another level of weebness. But yeah, I told her it's JoJo reference and that it's in part 6. And she said, "Oh, I wasn't that familiar with JoJo." So that's so funny. Holy fucking shit. Okay, so about an hour and a half ago at 6 p.m. sharp, Kuchio sent us all an email. The director, and I was in the middle of a conversation with Michelle. I don't know why, but for the last few days, I've been talking to Michelle every single day because there's so much new info happening every single day. But this is a gigantic bomb. This is one of the biggest pieces of information that everyone's anticipating. I care about this more than Best Picture for the Oscars or Best Record in the Grammys. The director chosen to be in our Film 33, to direct our Film 33 short. Guess who? It's not Red. It's not Yulia. It's not Theo, thank God. It's Carly. What? So Carly got the job. She is now chosen to be director, which is so unexpected. Nobody saw that coming. Nobody fucking saw that coming. I didn't see it coming. I didn't even know she's applying for director. But holy shit, and I don't know how, I don't know why. I guess I could see it. Like, she's really talkative. During the table read, she raised her hands a lot, and every time she spoke, she was very, adequate with her words, very articulate, and she seems to know what she's saying. I've never seen her work before, or I've never worked with her before, so I don't know, like, how good of a director she is. I said congrats, but this is such a weird, unconventional decision. I told Michelle this, and Michelle was like, holy shit, what the fuck? Like, what's the ulterior motive? Why is Cuchillo choosing him? What's his ulterior motive? Is she particularly gullible and easy to manipulate? Like, we don't know. And then producers are chosen. Holy crap. I just interviewed with Antonio like 6 hours ago, and boom, a decision is made. I'm not the producer. I wasn't chosen. Instead, it was, as expected, Birkin, the Turkish guy. I had him locked. I knew he's going to be the producer. I knew it. And it's going to be a team. The other guy is Zach. Didn't really see that coming. Not a huge surprise either. I know Birkin and Zach work together very well. They chat a lot. And I have nothing against Antonio. Antonio didn't choose me. Okay, I'm thinking optimistically. I don't think Antonio didn't choose me because I'm bad at this or anything. I think the interview today went pretty well. I just think that he thinks that Birkin is a better option. And Birkin is way more like moving and convincing and persuasive, and he's so much more compassionate than me. And maybe there's an element of paranoia. Maybe I said something on Discord and Antonio and Cuchillo know about it, and they're like, okay, let's keep this away from Enoch. Let's hope that's not the case. But now that Birkin has the producer job, I think I can secure UPM. Liana can secure UPM as well. If they allow 2 UPMs, me and Liana, please. If not, I just want to be on the team. That's that. That's fucking that. Holy crap. And then for DP, the Indian professor is still choosing. I'm rooting for Tyler. Yeah, it's absolutely insane. I told Michelle this, and she is just as shocked as I am. And it's absolutely insane what's happening now. I'm feeling tingles in my arms and legs because this is such exciting and intense information. Film 33 Discord server is storming with comments now. Multiple people like Shane and Alex and Gustavo and Red are congratulating Carly. Carly's like, thanks guys. I also congratulated her. And then I wanted to be an active participant. So I said, once the DP is chosen, we can all start making a crew list, because I thought that's what Cuchillo said. On the first class, Cuchillo said we come up with a crew list ourselves. I thought that's part of the process. And then Leia showed up out of nowhere and said, we really can't. It goes from top positions down from what I've learned so far. So 80s should be next. So Cuchillo is definitely in charge of that. What? So I thought we can all just discuss in a Discord group and just start like Oh, I want to be UPM. No, I want to be, okay, let's talk it out, blah, 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 blah. But no, this is a fucking domino effect. It's a trickle down power hierarchy, right? Director, producer, DP is chosen, and then it goes down. Boom, 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 boom. Holy crap. Now this is what I call a game. Now this is what I call a battle. I don't know if Leia's right or not. Um, but oh, Carly just said that for crew positions, we'll be coming up with a proposal for Cuchillo, who has the final say. Um, yeah, I don't know, but I think given that Birkin is UPM, Birkin is producer, I have a high chance of being UPM because Birkin is Wednesday 32, Wednesday film 32. So now I have a higher advantage. So that's good. But then again, you don't know. It's a Game of Thrones. It's a battle, and I may get shunned out. It's unpredictable. Anything could happen. Um, yeah, and then the film club meeting. Awkward, terrible, garbage. Theo's not here. Mateusz, the Polish guy, is now the film club president, and he's boring. Only 19 people showed up, and two of which are the bald professor, and the very old professor. The one, the film 8 guy, and the bald professor who's really intellectual, the film 2 guy. And then a bunch of people like Betsy, Kat, Michelle also showed up. I texted Michelle while her camera is on, so I texted her something funny, and I could see her reaction, like live reaction, over Zoom. I had my camera off, and it was boring as hell. We did some self-introduction. I said something after Michelle said something, but that's that. I left. It's just so boring. I'm gonna go out and cook dinner now. Yeah. Holy crap. This changes everything. That means everything. Um, yeah, oof. Yeah. Frick, I don't know. Should someone cooking outside? I guess I'll have to wait for that then. Fuck. But yeah, this changes everything. This is insane. Oh, and about Theo, the funny thing I sent to Michelle, it's a screenshot because I followed, my college's international student forum, and there's a speed friending thing. I've mentioned this a couple days ago. There's a speed friending thing, like ISF is holding their first in-person meeting, their first official in-person meeting. They've met 200 times already this semester anyways. And in one of the photos, Theo is there at the bottom left corner. And I immediately recognize him, screenshot it, send it to Michelle. Very suspicious. What is he doing there? What is his motive? Is he desperate for friends? And Michelle's like, yeah, probably. I mean, he pushed away me, he pushed away Betsy, and I said he pushed away Leslie too. So yeah, don't know what's going on. Something's cooking. But it's truly a battle, and tomorrow is going to be another very interesting day. So yeah. Okay, time now is 1:27 a.m. Just another tiny update here, I guess. I and Michelle spoke on Discord for 1.5 hours. I basically explained to her what's going on. No news. Honestly, right now I hold the most knowledge in drama. Michelle told me that she tells me more than she tells Betsy. So I am the one with the most knowledge right now. I don't want to sound cocky, but that's probably true. Like, I know everything, legit. I also got to be a little personal with Michelle, because, I don't know, I said, film 33 may break me psychologically, and then Michelle said, "Oh, I've never actually seen you angry before. Do you ever get angry?" And then it's funny because Pepper also asked me the same thing. Like, ooh, Pepper said she wants to see me angry because she's never seen me angry before. And then I explained to Michelle that, I used to be very angry all the time. I used to be always angry. Like back in secondary school, I used to be very angry and hateful and cynical, but I would internalize that and no one would know, which is like a very dark side of me. But Michelle doesn't seem too surprised about that. But Michelle seems to be surprised that I used to be very introverted. I told her, "Oh, I used to be very introverted and invisible and I don't socialize at all." And Michelle's like, "Oh, I wouldn't know because my personality has changed so much." Um I emailed the bodega girl and also the Hong Konger math professor, and the Hong Konger math professor almost immediately responded like a couple hours later saying, "Yes, I am from Hong Kong. I came here in 2004. Um, and I've been living here since." So that's really interesting. Um, and then he said he's not responsible for hiring stuff, so he referred my email to the math department heads. So we'll see. That's pretty interesting. Right now I'm very deep into the film department. I know the photography department a little bit. Um, and I guess I dabbled a little into the biology department, just a tiny bit, but now I'm infiltrating the math department a little bit as well. So that's intriguing. Like I'm really getting the full college experience package. Um, and then Betsy randomly DM'd me on Discord asking me for help. She wrote a script or something, and she wants my advice, which is really cool. Again, like when I started studying in this college online in 2020, and the first film club meeting over Zoom, there's Betsy, and she's really powerful. It's like, ooh, like she's all the way up there, and I'm just a lowly little Hong Konger kid. And then now Betsy's sending a script to me for my advice. Like, I've come so far. I have come so far. Um, yeah. I don't know. I've just been thinking, um, how while people like Cliff, Leslie, and Alba and me are also people who hate parties, Pepper probably likes them. Um, I just think there's a chance that in April during spring break, all of us are going to be bored enough to actually show up at that freaking party, and it's going to be the most vomit-inducing thing of my life. But I'm prepared for it, I guess, maybe. Um, yeah, and because Michelle told me how she thinks I'm a fluffy marshmallow a while back, and then today she told me how she thinks I'm really innocent because I told her, oh, I brought hentai to school and showed it to Evelyn. She was kind of shocked. She was like, "What? Wow, you horn dog, you horny. Why did you do that? Like, do you get urges?" And I'm like, "No, I'm just like, it's just a hentai book." And Evelyn's reaction, like, she just laughed. She just found it funny. And I also, part of the reason why I brought hentai to school and showed it to Evelyn is because the idea of me bringing hentai to school and showing it to a girl is just too funny. I have to do it just for the sake of doing it, you know? Kind of a performance art almost. And Michelle was shocked because I seem like a very like innocent person. So I realized, wow, people probably do think that way of me, like the way I act in front of people. Not the way I act now. Like you're seeing all of me now. But in front of real life people, I act really soft and fluffy and I'm smiling and I'm very soft spoken all the time. But yeah, this is actually interesting because if people know like 10% of the real me, people would probably be pretty shocked. I realized that out of everyone I've met in LA so far, I've only told Pepper and Potter about who I truly am. Because I don't tell this to people randomly. And I feel like I want to try telling this to more people, like perhaps Leslie, and see how she reacts like to the real me. And I'm not trying to be edgy, like, oh, I am like a psycho underneath, but like I am complicated, just as complicated as any other real complex human being. It's just that I'm not just a fluffy, innocent marshmallow who smiles all the time. I have history. I have my angers and hatreds. I am eccentric and quirky as fuck. Like my Google spreadsheets, my little habits, um, the way I had a crush on Mary, my conspiracies life, my artistic taste. Like I got conflicts in my personality too. So who knows? I feel like I'm expanding my circle now. Like not only am I open to telling other Hong Kongers my secrets and being personal, I feel like I should just start opening up and really like also tell Chinese people and Taiwanese people this shit. And maybe Japanese. I don't know. Hopefully make a Korean friend as well. Like that girl whom I partnered up with a few weeks ago, that Korean girl. Today at first she was completely alone, and then her friend showed up again halfway through the class. But she was completely alone, and I thought to myself, "Ooh, if she's alone, like she may like be a little lost." And she may go up to the other Asians and ask for help, aka me, or something like that. And then I forgot there's also another Korean girl in the class who is more quiet, who is a side girl. I also told Michelle, like Michelle asked me what's my impression of her before, like if I could guess how Michelle seems like what kind of person she seems like before, like in high school. I said she seems like a side girl, and she told me she thought I almost said side piece, and I don't know what side piece means. Finally, an American slang that I don't know. Apparently, side piece means the other girl that the guy dates. This, like a cheating thing. Um, yeah, that's that. Be excited for tomorrow. The game is on. The game is still on. Um, we'll see. All right. Time now is 8:09 a.m. on March 23rd. Oh, I'm so cold and I'm so tired. I slept from 3 a.m. to 9 a.m. Um, yeah, I just had a very emotionally intense dream. I went to my uncle's place, the one I have to go all the time every single month to, especially during Chinese New Year, my dad's brother's place, and I forgot to say goodbye or say hello to the aunt. Even though I did, I remember vividly that I said hello to her, and I said hello to everyone specifically because I don't want to be rude and miss out people. But then somehow the aunt told my mom, "Hey, your son didn't say hello to me." And then my mom was very mad at me, like, "Why didn't you say hello to her? That's so rude. She invited you to her home and you treated her like this." And I said, "But I did it. I did say hello." And my mom's like, "Nope, you didn't. If she said you didn't, you didn't. Go say sorry." So I was already really upset about this. So I wanted to make the biggest apology ever. And then before I could even do that, the aunt started to use a walking stick, like a crane, to hit me on the head and stuff. And then so I grabbed the cane at the very end, and then I yelled out her name very, very loudly so that the whole house can hear it, and then I kneeled on the floor, and then I kowtowed, and I cried and screamed intensely, and I said, "I'm sorry." And she said you didn't say goodbye to me, which is really weird. And maybe that's true. Maybe I didn't say goodbye, but at that point it's kind of weird. So I kowtowed and I started screaming and I said, "I will do anything for you. like I've become your slave because I didn't say hello to you. Um, I've committed the greatest sin in the world. It's almost like sarcasm, but then at the same time, I'm doing it unironically just to shock everyone. Um, and I was prepared to like lick her boots and eat trash for her and just show how sorry I am, even though I definitely did say hello to her. So that's that. And then at that point it was like 7:50. I was awake and Jacob the Chinese guy is like making some protein shake outside, and then at that point I'm just awake. So, yeah. Yeah, so today's a Thursday and it's Film 33 day, and given the insanity that is yesterday, I can't wait to find out what sort of insanity today may bring, and also how will people react to the information that Carly is chosen to be director, Zach and Birkin are chosen to be producers. Um yeah, also I think Thomas may be mad at me because Thomas usually picks me up every single morning for Film 33, but he didn't text me today this morning, so maybe he's mad at me. And he also didn't text me yesterday, and that's weird because Thomas always finds a freaking excuse to text me every single day. Maybe it's that, like, maybe because of how sensitive he is and how much drama I talk to Michelle about, Thomas just wants to be in with the drama, and Thomas finds out that I don't tell him all the drama, and now Thomas is a bit sad. Maybe that's it. Well, I'm sorry, it's a game of survival, son. It's a game of survival. And you, being older than me for 2 years, like, you're not playing the game right. So, yeah. Yeah, not much else. At least I get to wake up naturally tomorrow morning, so that's the exciting part. Um, um, yeah, not much else. I'm gonna eat a donut. I have no idea what to eat for breakfast. I'm gonna just eat a donut again, even though I had 2 donuts yesterday morning. I don't know.
It never works on my computer.
I just use the mobile version. 106. Damn. All right, time now is 6:57. I just got back home. I swear to God, 6:57 p.m. I'm so sleep deprived. Let me just go over what happened today in Film 33. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Something really weird and ominous is happening. So the moment I arrived, I saw Zach and Sidlali, and they didn't recognize me at first, but then they see me, and I said, hey again. And I said, oh, Zach, congratulations. And he's like, thank you. And then he asked me, what roles do I want? And I said UPM. And people ask me that like 5 times a day. Like, people ask me so many times. And people ask each other so many times, what's the role you want? What's the role you want? What's the role you want? So Zach asked me, and I said UPM. And he's like, oh, yeah, I actually said your name. Because when Zach interviewed to be producer with Antonio, Antonio asked, oh, who would you want to be on your team? And for UPM, okay, why are people even texting me? Hold on. Okay, Zach said my name for UPM, so that's a really good sign. Zach vouched for me. That's great. I totally didn't expect that. So for a great bulk of today, I thought I had it in the bag. I struck a deal with Birkin. Birkin's chosen as producer. I have a great chance. Zach recommended me. I have a great chance. Yeah, we entered the class at the moment. Of course, every time I film, my roommates has to come in. Oh, it's Candace and her boyfriend. I haven't even thought of what to eat tonight. Ah, damn. Maybe curry rice? Yeah, curry rice probably. Maybe. No, but anyways, Carly walked into the room very chilled, chewing her sandwich, and everyone started clapping and cheering for her. She's like Asian Messiah. And she's like, thank you, thank you. And then we formed a gigantic circle around the soundstage. And the entirety of today is basically Antonio, Drew, and Cuchillo, the big boss, talking to us and about pre-production. That's the entire thing today. But it's not boring at all. In fact, I was so in focus and I was paying so much attention, like 99% of the time, because it's so weird. Like the situation now is just so extreme. Like not extreme in a sense that it's extreme, just extreme in a sense that to me it's mentally it's like peak fiction, you know. So except it's real, it's not fiction. It's happening to me in real life. It's peak real life. So I was just so focused the whole time. And okay, you know, I'll go over the things. So Thomas showed up, and this morning I was kind of worried that Thomas would be mad at me, because I and Michelle didn't spill secrets to him, and he's now jealous. So it's weird, like when he came into the room, he didn't greet me, he immediately sat beside Trinity. I may lose him, and he's a huge liability because he knows my secret relationship with Michelle. If he leaks this to Theo or Trinity Gang, I'm fucked. I will lose everything. I might as well drop the class. And I will die the most gruesome death in the history of CMD. So that's kind of weird. So I immediately went up to Thomas and I was like, yo, are you applying for NYU Film? And he said he's applying for screenwriting, and I said I gave up, and he said he wants to give up too. So originally today we're supposed to have a scriptwriting club meeting, but Thomas canceled it for personal reasons. Turns out the personal reason is that he wants to go home and work on his NYQ applications. How can you be so fucking selfish and not self-aware, dude? But anyways, he seems to be chill with me. He seems to be fine and everything. And his hair is so bad. It was so awkwardly gelled and his face looks like a fucking cube. But, yeah, essentially there's that. That was a good roast. So more things are happening. So again, today, a bulk of today, like 95% of what happened today is the three professors talking to us. So we started talking about dates, like the major important dates, like the planned shooting date, the planned budget, completion date, the fundraising end date, like deadline, and the last day of shoot and everything, and what we're supposed to do on these days, and how we're going to proceed them. A good chunk of our chat today went to insurance and permits, and all the pre-production stuff, essentially. Like, again, insurance, permits, licensing, looking for music, casting, and the whole procedure. And it's very interesting because this is the best Film 30 I've got. This is the best pre-production class I've ever gotten. Film 30, which is an entire course dedicated to pre-production, is so boring and meaningless. This is actually way better and kind of interesting for me, especially given that I want to be UPM. And there was a moment when Cuchillo talked about company moving, and that means we're moving everything, all the cameras and equipment and problem set and everyone. And he said UPM is vital for this. And I was paying so much attention. I was writing notes. I was really serious. I almost don't believe that I am this serious about it myself, given how much drama there is in CMD, how much I know, how much dark shit I know now. I am so serious. I was really writing notes, and a good majority of the class are also really, really serious about this. Like, we're all writing notes, we're all paying 100% attention. But a good chunk of today is also about leaks, because Kuchio knows that we use Discord, and he somehow knows that we talk shit behind him. Of course, he didn't say that he knows, but he implied it so many times. He's like, again, just like what Antonio said to me yesterday, like, hey, if you're unsatisfied with the project, if you're dissatisfied, like, just be open about it, and don't say anything to anyone else outside on Discord. And when he said that, I thought he's talking about me. I was like a bit nervous, but then at the same time, I know there's no way he knows, because even though the only clue would be that I and Michelle work together, like, we know each other on the set of WoW, but Kuchio wasn't even there during WoW, during the filming of WoW, and Michelle had never told anyone else about our conversations other than Betsy. And every time Michelle told Betsy, it's over call. So there's no physical evidence or soft evidence. Like, there are no screenshots or whatnot. And I'm not telling anyone. I'm not telling anyone about this. So there's no way. Kuchio said that during the shooting for Leaving the Factory, which happened a couple years ago. God, my roommate's standing right outside of my bedroom right now. Fuck. And of course they're using the fucking washer and dryer. The moment I want to use washer and dryer. Okay, but anyways. The Professor Kuchio said that when they shot Leaving the Factory, of course, the lens got stolen. And it was such a huge, crazy moment. And some people on Discord, on the Film 33 Discord, of that shoot, started to make conspiracy theories that Kuchio orchestrated this theft and staged it himself. Which, first of all, wow, insane conspiracy theory. Second of all, that's not too far from the crazy shit I and Michelle are talking about. It's just that we're not talking about those things publicly in a Discord server. We're talking about it privately in DMs. And the fact that Kuchio knows is really insane. Someone ratted them out. And of course I trust Kuchio. I don't think he really staged it. I don't think he's that evil, okay? But still, there's foul play in this campus. So, I don't know. Things. So something's really off with Theo. Again, Theo being the most dangerous and suspicious person in the whole class. I asked him if he you know what, I should write some of this down as well, because I'm thinking of new things. Theo didn't interview for any of the big three. Like, director, producer, DP, he didn't interview for any of them. And then another thing is that he's beginning to self-isolate. He didn't talk to Trinity Gang today at all. He didn't talk to Thomas at all. Both I and Michelle also thought that Theo would exploit Thomas and use him against me to target me. But Theo isn't even doing that. During lunchtime, Theo went off on his own mysteriously. So that's very, very odd. And I don't know what's going on with him. He's kind of unpredictable. At some point near the end of the class, Leslie came in. I think during a break, Leslie randomly showed up and took a peek. And of course, given that I can sense people, I immediately turned around and saw her, and I said hi, and Leslie's like, yeah, and then she's gone. And then she returned to the soundstage again, and then she quickly left. And I just thought it's a pretty weird moment because Theo's in there and Leslie's in here, and I don't know if Leslie still has feelings for Theo. If she has, the whole situation is very awkward. And also, I just. I'll talk about that later. But essentially, there is that. Another thing is the trickle down power hierarchy. The crew list. I thought they're gonna assemble it today, so that's one of the reasons why today is so nerve wracking. Like I'm sitting on the edge of my seat the whole day, and that's because I was thinking that maybe they'll assemble the production team today, and I have to get it. I want to be UPM. I want to be UPM so bad. It's the perfect role for me. Like if I don't have UPM, if I don't get UPM, I don't know what else am I gonna do. I would be able to offer nothing to this short film. It's just this weird thing where people are saying, oh, well, actually, we won't even come up with the credits until the shoot is over. So the crew list is malleable, it's tentative, it's constantly changing. And then at the same time, people are beginning to form, like, groups. Like, oh, we're an art department. Oh, we're production team. And I spoke with Benny, and here's where things start to get interesting and a bit off. Benny's going for UPM. Like I asked Benny, oh, did you interview for producer? He said yes. And I asked him what's his ideal role, and he said UPM. And I'm like, me too. And he's like, well, sorry, bro. And I just don't know what to say. Like I like the guy. I think he's chill, and I think he would be a very good UPM. But it hurts me. So I really don't know, and it's especially weird when he starts taking charge. So we use this app, this website called Yamdu, and it's one gigantic website where you can do projects like film projects on there. You know, all the pre-production stuff, all the planning, scheduling. You put it on there, and all of the members can see it and check it. It's the hub. It's the internet hub of our short film. And because many people, including me, are not on Yamdu, it just came up out of nowhere. So Benny had a laptop, and he asked Antonio to give him authority to add people. So he started adding people into the group, into the Yamdu, and he started like calling out names and was like, if I hadn't called out your name, come out with me and I'll do it for you. So he's become the UPM now. And then another really weird thing is Yulia has become first AD, quote unquote, meaning that at one point during the first break, Kuchio asked Yulia to say, come back to the soundstage. And then at one point he asked Yulia to say, everyone quiet, all quiet. And it's just like weird. And at first I thought, oh, it's just Yulia being Yulia. But then I heard people like Eric started to like whisper, like, ooh, so I guess Yulia is the first AD now. And then everyone started noticing, and Leia got mad because Leia's dream role is first AD. And Leia got mad, and later in the class, she straight up confronted Kuchio about this. And Kuchio assured her, like, hey, Leia, the roles are not, like, it's not solid, it's not set in stone right now, we're still testing, so don't worry. But yeah, it's just so weird. Things are happening now. Things are actually freaking happening. And yeah, just Carly, Birkin, and Zach, they're so serious. I'm kind of happy I didn't get lead producer because it seems like a huge responsibility. And throughout the whole day, Carly, Zach, and Birkin, they just act so damn serious and professional. And they were like talking seriously, and they're going around. They have become professors. This class reminds me of Stanley Prison Experiment, where they assign some of the students to be guard. They assign some students to be prisoners, and the guards increasingly become very, very aggressive towards the prisoners, even though they're not actual real life guards. That's what's happening. Of course, Birkin and Zach are now real life actual producers, albeit it's just a student short film, but still, they have become different people now. They're just ultra serious. And it's just, I mean, great. That's a great attitude for the short film. And I can vibe with that. But also, there's something off about it. Let's see what else. So yeah, I have competition now. There's Benny, and then things started to get weird with Thomas as well. Thomas did a 180 degree. So, okay. Also, Liana and Julia both also want to be UPM. So now four people are going for UPM. So I'm screwed against these big people. And then Thomas being weird. So there's a first break, and it's okay, it's whatever. And then there's a lunch break from. Oh no, there isn't even a first break. I think. Yeah, there's a lunch break, gigantic lunch break from 11:30 to 12:30, and then there's a second break, which is around like 3:30, or I think around 3 to 3:40. And for lunch break, we chatted a little bit. Everyone's really passionate. I went up to Carly and congratulated her again, and you know, it's all chilled, you know. And again, I feel for the most part today, I felt like I feel like I'm already in the production team. I thought I had it in the bag because again, Cuchillo's email implying that everyone who interviewed with Antonio will get the job. And then B, I'm already like speaking to Birkin about it. I'm already talking to Benny about producing. I already talked to Julia a bit. So I already have it in the bag. But then things started to change. And it's kind of weird. I and Thomas got this shitty egg and bacon bagel from his job, probably like 300 calories. Go ahead and eat it. Keep healthy. I need shit tons of calories to survive. I have a condition. So Tom's like, sure, I'm gonna drive you to have lunch, and I'm like, great. So I just thought, okay, let's go to Cafe Bergamo. So I went to Cafe Bergamo. I and Thomas went to Cafe Bergamo, and I got myself a tuna cheese melt sandwich with a salad side. And by the time I bought that and got back to the campus, I had like 10 minutes to finish it. So I actually couldn't finish it, even though I tried my best to stuff the whole sandwich in my mouth and stuff all the salad in my mouth. And I was the last one to go into the classroom, but I made sure I wasn't super late. But yeah, on the way, I braved up and I asked Thomas about the 33T group, which is very weird. Like, why would you suddenly open a Discord server called 33T? And the T is actually a coffee emoji with me, Michelle, and Thomas. I and Michelle will never tell Thomas any of this shit. He is such a huge liability. We don't trust him, okay? And no shade to Thomas, but like, we just can't bring this on to other people. The fact that I know this much in my head right now puts myself in danger. So, yeah, So, Thomas was like very, he said he's curious. And I said, oh, I thought you hated drama. I thought you don't like drama. And he's like, well, not that I don't like it. I kind of like it. It's just that I shouldn't like it professionally. So now he likes it. What the fuck? So he's doing a 180. And then Thomas also doesn't know what role he wants. He just wants to stand back and relax. But then suddenly, after all that talking today, he's suddenly interested in being production coordinator or part of the production team. So now I have another competitor. And everyone who wants to be in the production team is also a competitor, because if I don't get UPM, I could just move to production coordinator, who does similar things, albeit a bit different. But I'll just move around in the production team. Like, there's some wiggle room. But if too many people want to join the production team, then I may actually get thrown out, ostracized, which is horrible. So, I don't know. I do think I have a greater chance than Thomas to be in the production team, but then again, you don't know. You can never predict what's happening. When Carly got director, I didn't even predict it. So, holy shit. That girl who pretended to be a dead woman in Thomas's shitty first short film, she's the director of the new film 33. How? But yeah, I managed to convince Thomas to delete the group, even though he clearly hasn't deleted it. I'm looking at Discord right now. But I told him, like, hey, what if Kuchio finds out, and he's like, yeah, I think I should delete it. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much it. Even though everyone's super focused and very passionate about the project, there's something really off about today. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. My mood lately has been starting to turn sour for some reason. I'm starting to be nervous. And me knowing all these dark, dirty secrets and me being paranoid and delusional have made me feel off about things. But today, even though everyone's energy is very passionate, which is nice, there's just something kind of ominous and off-kiltered about things. There's just this weird atmosphere. So, yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. Oh yeah, right after class, Birkin and Zach held an improvised production meeting for all the people who are in the production team and are interested in the team. And at that point, that was my peak confidence. Like, I was so confident that I would be part of the team because Benny told me to tell others. So I'm basically part of the team now, right? To tell others about the pre-production meeting. So about 13 people showed up and we used a different classroom. We went to classroom 106 and we spent time there from 4:30 to 6 p.m. Yeah, we basically did some self-introduction and threw some ideas around. Not much, really. But at the very end, I spoke with Birkin, and I asked him if this crew list thing is going to be, like, solid. Like, do we actually have to come up with a crew list for Kuchio? And Kuchio said, and Birkin said yes, and he's working on it right now. And then I asked Birkin if he could possibly make 2 UPMs, because that would benefit both me and Benny. And Birkin said we only need 1. And then Birkin said, oh, we need someone loud and clear. Someone who speaks loud and clear. And Benny speaks loud and clear. Or he didn't say Benny, but he just said loud and clear, implying that I'm not loud and clear, but Benny is obviously one of the loudest persons of the whole classroom. So I'm like, oh, yeah, I mean... And then Birkin's like, I'm just fucking with you. We'll see. So that's that. So now I suddenly feel really ominous. Again, theoretically, the 6 people who interviewed with Antonio will get production team. That makes sense. And that 6, I'm guessing, would be, okay, Birkin and Zach, of course, as the leads, me as UPM, Benny, Julia, and apparently Skylar didn't apply to any big roles aside from DP and director. So the 6th one is probably... Who is it? Shoot, I thought I know, but then I forgot. Shoot, but anyways, there's supposed to be 6, and I'm in it. Yeah, I think it's Liana, right. So Zach, Birkin, Liana, Julia, Benny, and me. That would work just fine. But now I'm having second thoughts because suddenly Bree is saying she's interested to be part of the team. Suddenly other people are interested. And Thomas is interested. And now my position is threatened. And if I don't get UPM, and line producer is not really for me. Production coordinator is fine, but not really my thing because I don't want to make phone calls. I may actually lose it. I stand a chance of losing it, actually. So I've been thinking, like, what is my plan B? Because I don't work well in any other departments. Like, I can work well for fun, like in Film 32. I worked in all the departments, but for this serious thing, I will not work well in any other department. So, I'm thinking if I fall to rock bottom and lose production team, I'm just going to directly join Toba as BTS. Like, I'll just be another BTS person. Which is lame, and I'll probably not be that interested or passionate about this project. But yeah, it's intense. It's getting really intense. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today. that's pretty much it. Yeah, fuck. I forgot to mention that when I and Thomas walked to his Tesla in the car park, both of us saw Alba, and at first I didn't know it's her because she's in a car and she's in the driver's seat and she's driving in CMD. I thought she's done with this freaking hellhole. But yeah, Alba's driving. And then she later DM'd me asking me if I recognize her, and I said yeah. So that's that. Sheesh. I also forgot to mention that my Discord connects to my Twitter account for some reason. I didn't even know that, and Jonathan found out, and he went to it and checked on what tweets I liked, and I like all sorts of tweets, like political tweets, shitty dumbass memes, cosplayers, like very lewd photos, K-pop tweets. Like, you would think I'm schizophrenic if you look at the kind of tweets I like, but he just looked at them, and Eric saw it as well, and I wasn't embarrassed because I could defend all of the tweets I liked, you know. But yeah, that's something to note, I guess. Oh, and yeah, after the meeting today, the final meeting, Leslie's not here anymore. I was hoping that she would be here, but she's not. And then Thomas left. I followed Thomas and asked him, "Oh, are you gonna drive me back home?" And Thomas was very far away, and I couldn't hear what he said, but he just walked away. So I decided to stay behind a little bit more. And then apparently Thomas called me, and then a couple of minutes later I found out. But then I called back, and then he's not picking up. So I guess he's just gone. So I just took the bus back home. Jonathan DM'd me on Discord just now, sharing a song to me, a song by a Singaporean artist called Yule, whom I've reviewed, and also Gustavo, the Brazilian guy, DM'd me on Discord. Apparently we've spoken a long time ago, a whole year ago, for a bit, about Film 40 quiz. Yeah, that's that. And yeah, I don't know. It's interesting what's going on right now with Michelle. I think the way she enters the classroom and then disappears, it's just like that reminds me of like one of the reasons why I really loved Mary is just the way she disappears and reappears in places. I think that's just really cool aspect. But yeah. Oh, and then I also forgot to mention that by the end of the day, Tova took a photo of me, and then I told Tova, "Oh, I'm gonna look different the next time you see me." And she's like, "What? You're gonna shave your hair, your whole head?" And I'm like, "No, I'll shave my mustache." And she's like, "Oh, that's it?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And that's kind of funny, like making it dramatic. And then Jonathan looked at me and he's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "Well, it's like ugly, you know." And Tova said, "No, it's fine. I like your mustache. Don't shave it." And I'm like, "What?" Because usually, out of all the girls I've spoken to, they all don't like mustache. Like, Pepper doesn't like it, and I've seen YouTube videos where girls don't like it. So I'm like, ugh. And it's again, I'm East Asian, so why do I even have a mustache anyways? But yeah, Tova thinks it's fine, and then Tyler said, "Hey man, don't shave it just because someone says it's ugly. Like, I know a friend who has a mustache and facial hair, and I told him to shave all the time, but he's keeping it and he's pulling so many girls." And I said, "Oh yeah, but I'm gonna shave anyways." So that's that. All right, time now is 12:40 after midnight. I'm so tired. I don't know what's going on with me. Like, for the last couple of hours, I've been really like not in a great I'm not in a great mood. Like, I feel fine. It's just that something feels really off, and I keep listening to music, and I was editing my thoughts update video, and then I keep getting distracted by thoughts of, you know, me in the past, me being the detective. Because earlier today, I started to worry for my fate. Like, what if I can't become UPM? What if I lose my position in the production team? Like, what if that happens? I'm gonna lose everything. I'm gonna drop to the rock bottom. If that happens, I'm actually going to go to Instagram and make an Instagram story and say, like, even though I lose my role or lose my job, I will never stop being the detective. And then suddenly I felt really proud of that statement. Like, it's such a fucking badass statement. Like, I am forever the detective in my heart, you know? I'll never fail being a detective. I can lose that. I can lose my health. I can lose my sanity, but I'll never stop being the detective. I'm just so dedicated to that. So, yeah, and then I just started like revisiting my poems, like the songs and raps and poems I've written a long time ago since I was like 14, 15 years old, and holy shit, all of them are so edgy and sad and broken, and they're all about how my corpse is rotting and I am an empty, hollow, broken man, and the world is full of shadows and ghosts and demons. And I've written several songs about Mary and how much I want her to turn into a monster to bite me and turn into a vampire and drink me. And it's just so cringe but so good at the same time. Like I wish I still have that negative, edgy ass energy, because artistically but also stylistically for me. Like if I have the same edgy view on life and things and I look at the world this way, like LA would probably feel pretty different. Um but yeah, so I was cheeky and I posted a cropped photo of screenshot of one of my songs on Instagram, and nothing crazy. I've written so many crazy shit, and Leslie immediately saw it and liked it. And I thought about deleting it immediately, but then I'm like, you know what? Who cares? Like one of the lines I wrote in one of my poems when I was like 15 when I wrote this line, but it was like, if you don't see me tomorrow, I'll be on the news. And that's basically implying, like, if you don't see me arriving at the classroom tomorrow, I'll be on the news because I'll be dead and I've committed suicide. And I just thought this line goes so fucking hard. It's just insane. And I just think, given how the people around me nowadays think I'm a fluffy, soft marshmallow, if they even see 10% of who I really am, they're gonna fucking freak out. They're gonna, like, I was talking to Michelle a lot. Like, Michelle randomly asked me just now if I had a crush on Aoba and Pepper, and the answer is no. But I asked her why did she randomly ask me that, and she said, "Why can't I?" She's just curious. A random thought came up to her mind, and I said, "No, I've never had crush on either of them." But I'll tell the story of me trying to figure out my feelings for Pepper to her after she figures out her feelings for Cliff, because I don't want my story to affect her judgment. But then I explained my origin story to Michelle. I told Michelle how I got the name detective. Like, of course, Bernice and Mary gave me the name, but how, when I was 14 years old and I was very innocent and naive, I started noticing people being strange around me and I started collecting their, secrets and stuff, and I became the detective. Like, Bernice and Mary call me the detective, and one of them become one of my biggest enemies, that's Bernice, and then Mary became my first crush. It's such an interesting, like, now that I'm retelling my origin story, it's so much more interesting. It's like a mythology. It's almost like a folk tale, except it's real and it happened to me. And it's so like, ooh. And Michelle said she's surprised that I've made enemies, and I said, yeah, I've made several enemies back in my day. And again, that's such a non-Enoch thing to say. Like Enoch in L.A., like Enoch in Hong Kong would definitely say that. So Michelle was like, "Whoa, I didn't expect that of you." And I told her I wrote poems, and she said, "Oh, I'm surprised. I didn't know you would write poems. Like, I didn't expect that." So again, like if I show 10% of who I am, people will just not compute because I am so much more complicated and messed up of a person. Like, that's why. And then I don't know why, but lately I've been really thinking about like showing my true self to Leslie, like because Leslie's also showed quite a bit of herself to me and other people, and I'm thinking maybe there's so much more to her that she's not showing me, and I feel like she's probably a pretty complicated person too, because of all the how edgy she is, how anxious and nervous she gets, and then her relationship with her signature and how she doesn't want to sign any names, and all other weird stuff that she mentioned, and the way she smokes and whatever. um like if I also like show a little bit of myself to Leslie, whether it be me dancing like a cute anime girl to a J-pop song, or the fact that I have 1,500, almost 1,500 subscribers on a YouTube channel, or the fact that I am a bit of a masochist and I'm like crazy sometimes, or the fact that I've, you know, like if I show 10% of myself, like wouldn't that be very interesting, you know? But yeah, that's that. Pepper and JT hung out again today. I also forgot to mention a couple things. During today's Film 33 class, we talked about casting a little bit, and I think it was Trinity Gang. Someone in Trinity Gang made a suggestion that we should cast Pedro Pascal as one of the actors, and then Kuchio was like, "Yeah, he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy," and we're all like, "What? You've met him?" And Kuchio was like, "Yeah, no biggie, no biggie, no big deal." And then we all started to actually seriously talk about the possibility of casting him, which is really funny. And we were serious about it. Like, we should make it as further as possible. Like, even if we don't end up casting him, if we could reach his agent and have a response from the agent, that's already like an achievement in this college's history. Yeah, I guess yeah, what else have I forgotten to talk about? Um yeah, not much else. I almost forgot about my art history homework. I didn't do it in time, by the way. Like, the deadline is 12 at midnight, but I went past it, but it's okay because it's just a discussion post. And I talked to Michelle at the same time while, doing the homework. Um but yeah, I how did I get here? Like, how did I manage to just not feel anything for Pepper? Like, I think Pepper's a little cuter than Leslie, but Leslie's so much more interesting in terms of personality. And I know I may sound really desperate right now, but honestly, if I had only two choices between Leslie and Pepper, I would choose the former, just for the personality. Because with Pepper, it's not that I can't stand it, it's just she's so bland. She's so fucking bland and flat of a person. Like, at some point I almost thought she had some depth to her, but no, like, sheesh. She's so bland. But yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess. I can't wait to just not leave the apartment at all tomorrow.